Good morning. We are going to go through just a little bit. I promised a shorter summary video relating to the proposal that's due this weekend, and I just want to touch base on some expectations for how you submit your stata work moving forward. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and look at the Module 3 term proposal, the project proposal. So this will be a little bit shorter video than the long meeting from the other night, but everything is listed in here in terms of how we need to accomplish this initial proposal, okay? So what I would like to do is, in conjunction with this, I would like each of you to make sure that you've read this announcement right here. What's a proposal? It's a straightforward document. It's not a literary production, and it's clearly organized. Now, we're going to use this for our final paper this term and for next term. But for now, we're going to have this informal one relating to the proposal. So I don't need a title page. The generic questions are listed up here, right? And they're kind of replicated in order down here. So when we go through and we think about what exactly we're trying to accomplish with our proposal, we want to most likely build off of that first week's submission, your topic submission. So I gave you some feedback on that, and you need to stay focused on that topic. If you're going to change, I need to know pretty quickly by this weekend, most likely, so that we can get you steered in the right direction, because we're coming to the end of the third week. We only have 5 weeks left, so we've got quite a bit of ground to cover for this project. So I want to start with just a general concept here of the problem and its settings. And so the other night we talked about Jamie and Mandy's. They're both looking at possibly some retention issues or student engagement options that are designed to enhance retention in higher education. So I'm going to stick with that idea as our problem and our setting. And now they're going 2 different ways, but I just want to kind of lay that out. So our problem is, in higher education, we are experiencing what we call attrition. And so higher education is attempting to figure out, how do we enhance the student experience or the academic experience to increase our retention rate, because it's a lot easier and more cost effective to retain students than it is to replace them. So our problem could be, what is an in-classroom experience like? What we were doing before, what can we change, and how do we test if there's better retention outcomes along the way? Now, this is a longitudinal study that would take a very long time, but the purpose of the study would be to investigate, let's say, in-classroom student experiences, to see their effect on student grade outcomes or learning outcomes, something like that. So that would be the purpose of our study, okay? And then our general context for the study would just kind of mirror that in terms of, what were we doing before? What are we going to try to do moving forward? So in the prior iterations of Course X, we were doing this to achieve the course objectives. What we're going to do now moving forward is gain some data by doing different in-classroom experiences. So we have a difference in different study, and we can probably relate that to an ANOVA experience, so an analysis of variance between and within the groups. But the general context of the study would be, a liberal arts college in the KCAC. Student population is diverse, and there are X number of students. So the general context of the study is, let's build its setting around the context. So the purpose is to look at in-classroom experiences within the context or the setting of this study, okay? And this is a small one. We can, I can help any of you out with this when we're looking at it, at your proposal. So feel free. A couple of you have already emailed me that, your proposal, and I've given feedback. But some guiding questions. Let's see. For that one, we could look at what were some learning outcomes, or how do we achieve learning outcomes in prior iterations of the course? How do we intend to test new in-class activities to engage in student learning? And then we can say, how do these compare when we're looking at final grades or student evaluations of the course? Something like that. Those are generic questions. But what we want to do is have probably about 3 to 5 guiding questions that we can distill down into a larger research problem. So thinking of this one in a specific research problem, we would want to determine, does an enhanced in-classroom experience, and we would define this, of course, with literature, but does an enhanced in-classroom experience with your professor lead to not only better grade outcomes, but retention outcomes down the line? Okay, so that could be a larger research problem that's still built within the purpose of our study and the context of our study. Some assumptions would just be as simple at this point. The assumptions would be, we believe, I believe that, a more deliberate engagement of students within the classroom based on certain activities will lead to higher grades and retention. Limitations, we could think through, we don't have the data yet. We're not sure what we're going to collect or how we're going to collect it yet. But the limitations are that in this particular study is if we only limit it to one college. If we were to do something larger like this, we would want to have a larger data set. Okay. Now, the importance of the study, this is the kicker. The importance of every one of your studies needs to be related to adding to the academic literature that is already out there. Okay, so you're not doing this study to improve Ottawa University. You're not doing this study to improve, your personal portfolio or ADA accommodations, any of the things we've talked about. The importance of this study is adding to the literature surrounding higher education and retention rates, and how in-classroom experiences lead to better outcomes. So the importance of the study really needs to be framed around what's already been published and how you're adding to that specific little sliver. Now, again, that's much more down the line in terms of like a dissertation project. But in this, for this project, just think of how you're adding to the broader context. So in this case, when we get to next is the review of the related literature, you're kind of leading into that section too. This will advance, or this will add to the academic literature relating to higher education retention attempts that are being investigated nationwide. Okay, because I think that's probably a safe lead-in sentence. And then we go to the review of literature. And I want to state this here. This project is 2 to 3 pages. I expect, and again, I'm not going to get prescriptive in here and tell you exactly what I want, because it does change with every person. If you want to give me 4 pages of a lit review, I'll read it and tell you what it is. I expect at least a page of lit review. You should have, 5 articles from the first week, and I would probably suggest you need to be collecting between 5 and 10 a week related somehow to your topic or your area of interest. You need to be absorbing far more than just the textbooks and, learning how to do stata and things like that. You really need to be reading constantly. And you need to be breaking down and keeping track of those. And I'll post that. Perhaps I'll post that with this. I'm going to add a note real quick. So I'm going to add I'm going to give you an example of an Excel file. I kept data in for a class. We had to have like 50 articles. And so author, citation, main topic, how it relates to my area of interest, what was their empirical study, was it regression or ANOVA or panel data, anything like that. And you just kind of keep notes along the way. So I'll add an example of that to the announcement today, so you can start to do that. But that's a good way to track your sources. The review of literature, again, when we talked on that very first night of class, think of it as a funnel. We want to start broad and we want to come down as far as we can right now. I'm not expecting you to be down at the very bottom, but I want you to have some seminal works that have been cited a lot of times. So go to Google Scholar, use the library. My understanding is we have more JSTOR databases now for business. And that's really what we need to be driving in terms of a DBA is kind of, how does my research affect managerial decision making? That's not necessary in this class, but moving forward, that's kind of something you'll want to think about. Okay, so those are the big pieces. What's my problem and its setting, and what's the literature say about it? Who else has studied this? What did they find? What were they attempting to do? And then what's great about that is if you have the lit review, you can move to the data section next. So some of you don't know how you're going to get your data yet. That's fine. This is our starting point. This is not our end point. Okay. So what's the data you're going to need, and how do you think you're going to get your hands on it? Okay. Then what we're going to step down to is the research methodology. And this is where we're going to really go this term. This is kind of the end point of where we're going to be in week 8. Based on the literature that you've established, you're going to defend your approach to analyzing your data. So if you have 17 articles that say that tested some sort of classroom application or student experience application related to higher education and retention, you will want to use those sources to defend your approach. So if they all used regression analysis and they all had independent or dependent variables, things like that, that is where you're going to look at, that's your conceptual and theoretical framework. Those are the people that are going to, when you say these are the variables I'm going to collect, because Eschnauer 2023 found that these variables had a statistically significant relationship to increasing retention rates. Okay, that's it. You're going to defend it through all the literature, because it's not about what you necessarily are going to do. It's about what you're going to do based on prior research. Okay. Now, within your data, I want you to also note what type of variables you're looking at. Are they going to be categorical or numerical? And go through what we learned in those prior chapters, all right? Because that's what we're stacking all of that information along the way. Okay, now again, type of design and its underlying assumptions, that's going to be built off of your literature. These areas are going to be very unexplored in this proposal. Again, this is where we're going. But give it some thought. What are your initial thoughts related to conceptual and theoretical framework, your type of design you might want to use? And then in C&D, this is really where I would like you to think about how you're going to get your data, where you're going to get it from, and an initial idea of what you might want to do with it. Qualifications of a researcher, again, this is a traditional proposal layout. You're a graduate, a doctoral student that is working through a process. I'm not real concerned with that, but that would be something down the line that if you're publishing, they're going to want to know that. Now, outline of the proposed study. This is something I want you to spend some time on. I want to know the steps you're planning to take between now and week 6 when we meet. I need a detailed timeline of an achievable outcome. So if I get that and I say, Jacob, you said by week 4 you would have your data set. Do you have it? I just want to check in with you because I feel like I want to do that. So, just a timeline, steps to be taken, and then references. References need to be in APA format. I've provided APA resources throughout the course. Make sure those are accurate. You do not need appendices for this. Even if you attach some data or pie graphs, I don't need an appendices. Just throw them in there for now. We'll grow into that. Okay, so that's kind of a general layout of what we're doing, but clear and concise. Your statements within the purpose of your study, you could probably sprinkle in a little bit of citations there. Just saying, so-and-so studied this and found this. I'm looking to enhance it based on this. Okay, just give yourself the freedom to explore. I'll give you feedback on this, but you shouldn't be hesitant to take a chance with this project. Okay, this is a chance to grow, a chance to learn, a chance to take some extra chances in terms of, I would really like to try this guiding question, but I'm not sure it fits. Throw it in there, make that note for me. Again, it's a formal, informal assignment. I don't need the APA title page or anything like that, but I do expect citations and references, but the rest can be rather informal. Even if you add a note out to the side, said, I'm not sure about this guiding question. Maybe I want to go this way. That would help me better understand how I can help you get to the end result by the end of the term. Okay. Clear and concise, saying less is typically better. And if you go back and you look at all of this stuff and you go back to that announcement, use this to kind of guide you, just a straightforward straightforward approach. Okay. You don't need to add complex characters or vivid imagery. This is business writing. It really is not that exciting. I think most of you probably picked that up as you've read your articles. This is not a literary production of excitement. So, but we've got a job to do, and that's what we're going to do. So clearly organized, simple paragraphs, no typos. This is the doctoral program, so I want to make sure we do that. Now, in terms of how to submit your stata moving forward, I'm going to share a document, and I didn't ask for her permission, but this is Mandy's, this is how I want it, kind of either in a Word document or a PDF, but I also want your do files. I don't want your DTA files. That does not help me at all. And so I need to be able to see your work. Okay. I don't just want pictures like this. I want to see your coding. What I love about Mandy's is it looks a lot like mine. I made mistakes along the way and I just kept them in there because I wasn't redoing it. That's perfectly fine. And as we got there, we'll go down. I continue to see her coding. This helps me determine if this number is different than what it should be. It tells me that, okay, well, perhaps we missed one here. Like in that last week's assignment, seeing this here, I notated this on almost everyone's. Everybody forgot to remove this bad data. Now, the question didn't specifically ask you to, but the prior chapter said, remove that data. Now, I knew you all were going to miss that because I missed it when I took this class too. So again, it's a learning process. And next time when you're looking at something and it says, you know, when we run out that code for 985, which isn't over here, it will say, you know, bad data. Now, in chapter 4, what were we told to do with bad data? Get it out of there. So when we recoded this for these, 985 should have been equal to point. So it happens because here's where we it lingers here, an extra 90 observations that needed to go away. Some of you forgot to code out the never use smokeless, and then they got coupled into, I think, over 21. But Mandy's did this right. But this is what I want it to look like. This is clean. It shows me that you're typing in the variables, that you're not just snipping it from somewhere. This is a wonderful submission for exercise or chapter 5. Everything's present. You got her right up here. And so I just want to say you submit your individual chapters either as a PDF or a Word doc, however you want to do it. And I'll give feedback, but I also want your do files so I can kind of see along the way how you're progressing. Now, that being said, with the do files, if you're struggling during the week, please send me your do files so I can review what you're up to and try to lead you into that process. Okay, so I have no problem helping with that. I'm honestly getting far too few emails. I think I noted that in an announcement. This is challenging, and you do need to you need to be working on it step by step all week long, because it does take a while to understand. If you jump in over the weekend or even on Sunday, you're not going to get it done. So I'm very much looking forward to the proposals. If I can help, just let me know. But I will post this video and the article tracking option today. I wish you guys the best. I will see you soon. And yeah, let me know if you need anything. Thank you. Bye.